I the asshole for disowning my adopted son since he chose his people over us? I know the title is a bit weird, but that's the best way I found to translate what was said. I, 44 male, and my husband, 40 male, have been married for 20 years, together for 22. Our adopted son is 24. He's black and we're not. I'm only mentioning this because it's relevant to the story later. This doesn't take place in the US. Let me give a little bit of a background to the situation. About 19 years ago, my husband and I had been driving on a highway back from a small vacation when along this particularly long stretch of road, absolutely no buildings around, only a ton of grass and hills as far as the eye could see, we spotted a little boy just sitting by the side of the road. Like I mentioned, there was nothing around for miles and no cars close to where the boy was. We decided to stop and see if everything was okay. When we got closer to the boy, let's call him Jason, it was very easy to see he was dirty and malnourished because the only thing he had on was a diaper. He was so small, it didn't look like he could be any older than 3. We later found out he was actually 5. We asked him why he was alone, and he told us that mommy and daddy put him there and told him to wait. There was no cell signal in the area, so we did the sensible thing and brought him back to town to the nearest police station. To make a long story short, CPS was called. We discovered his parents were some druggies that were on the run for a felony. The only other relative Jason had was his grandmother, who was very mentally ill and couldn't take care of him. We felt bad. He went into foster care soon after, but we felt bad for the kid and we kept in touch with his caseworker. I had and still have an extremely well-paying job at the time and could easily afford a decent lifestyle for a small family. So after a few months of discussion between ourselves, the caseworker, and some bureaucracy, we formally adopted Jason. Now on to the situation. About 3 years ago, Jason's parents were released from prison on parole. They contacted him not long after in hopes of reconnecting. Prior to that, they'd sent him a few odd letters here and there, but nothing really substantial. At first, he was hesitant to talk to them, but ended up caving and meeting them for lunch one day. I'll admit that a part of me was a bit jealous and apprehensive of what could happen, but I could see that this was something that my son really needed and wanted to do. So for his sake, I swallowed those feelings and I supported him through it. It wasn't very long, about 3 months, I think, before he started to pull away from us. At first, I chalked it up to him being excited to actually talk to his bio parents after so long. Talk about what had been going on in his life, spend some time with them, things like that. It started to bother me when he would cancel plans with us last minute because mom had an emergency or dad really needs me to help him with something today or whatever other excuse that he could come up with. He used to come over to our house at least once a week, call every day or so, but now we were lucky if he even came by that month at all. Again, I thought this was just temporary, that he was just excited and soon enough, he would start spending time with us again. We were overjoyed when he invited us over for dinner one night. It was supposed to be a family gathering, us, his bio parents, and his wife, his girlfriend at the time. I wasn't exactly keen on meeting the people that left my son for dead on the side of the road, but I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe they atoned and changed. Besides, he's our son and we love him. We at least had to try. To say the dinner was a disaster is an understatement. His bio mom was extremely rude to my husband and myself the entire night. She made passive-aggressive, homophobic, and racist remarks every chance she got. His father was much the same, and it all came to a head when she straight up called us the F word and threw a glass at my husband. A screaming match followed, and we left soon after. Oh, hell nah. You guys should be groveling at our fucking feet because we're the reason your son is still alive. You're welcome. The next day, Jason apologized profusely and promised they would never do something like that again. I told him neither me nor my husband wanted to have anything to do with them and would appreciate if he understood that. He seemed to understand, but continued to pull away for the next few months. That leads to what happened last week. Jason proposed to his girlfriend about 9 months back and has been preparing for the wedding ever since. Of course, we're overjoyed for him, but a few months went by and no invitation came. Every time we asked Jason, he would just say they hadn't been sent out yet and change the subject. Last week, my husband saw a Twitter post from one of Jason's friends, his groomsmen, that was a few weeks back, and he had an invitation in his hand. We confronted Jason about it, and the next time he came over, only for him to drop the bomb on us that we hadn't been invited. Oh, hell no. So because you met your biological parents, the parents that adopted you, raised you, and have loved you for the past 19, almost 20 years mean absolutely nothing and they're not allowed to come to your wedding? That's fucked up. Jason, you're wrong. You're wrong, Jason. When we asked him why, he said his parents didn't want us there and they wouldn't come if we did. I was fucking furious. I asked him how could he choose those pieces of trash over us? Why they were so important? What do we do to deserve this kind of treatment? His answer, they understand me better. They're my people. At this point, my husband was crying and asking how could he do this. I've only ever truly been angry a few times in my life, and this moment managed to top all of them. I threw him out right then and there, and I told him to never come back, that he wasn't our son anymore. I spent the rest of the day hugging my husband, trying to calm him down. That's so sad. These people's hearts have been broken. They've loved this boy from the fucking beginning. From the moment that they seen him sitting on the side of the road, they felt something for him. They've loved him. They encouraged him to reconnect with his biological parents just for him to push them away and say, these people understand me better. They're my people. Then how come you were lying? Why didn't you just come out and tell us that we weren't invited for the fucking wedding? Why didn't you say anything? If the answer is just that fucking simple, they're my people and they understand me better, why are you lying? When we asked you multiple times about invitations to the wedding, why were you fucking lying? The next day, I canceled everything that we paid for the wedding. That's why he was lying, because he knew that you guys were no longer going to fund the wedding that you weren't even going to be fucking invited to. That's why he lied. The next day, I canceled everything we paid for the wedding, which was basically everything important, even the ones we couldn't get a refund on. Of course, Jason had the gall to call and scream at me, asking how I could do that to him and where he would find replacements for a wedding that was supposed to happen only a few months from now. Well, that's something that your biological parents can figure out. Those are your people and they understand you better. Go to them and see if they'll help you. You don't get to call and fucking scream at me after you literally ripped my heart out of my chest, stomped on it, and then you're still expecting me to fund this fucking wedding that I don't even get to be a part of? Okay, Jason. I told Jason that I didn't give a shit, and I said maybe you should ask those two leeches you call parents for some help. 19 fucking years of my goddamn life spent raising and loving a kid that I considered my own son, only to be treated like garbage, giving blood, sweat, and tears so he would have a good life. All the love that we could possibly give, and this is what we get as a reward. As for why I'm asking if I'm the asshole, some people have been calling and messaging us, mostly Jason's friends and a few of our family members, calling us heartless and monsters for doing what we did to him. That's absolutely fucking wrong. Just because I'm a parent does not mean I'm supposed to sit idly by and allow my children to mistreat me. When you're fucking wrong, you're wrong. I do not have to pay for a goddamn fucking thing after you have treated me wrong. No, I don't. If that makes me heartless, let me fucking be heartless then. Our family members are calling us heartless and monsters for doing what we did to him. And that's honestly got me questioning if I went too far in anger. After all, parents are supposed to love unconditionally, right? But if so, how do we ever get over something like this? How do we deal with this feeling of betrayal? Are we justified in feeling like that? So am I the asshole? I truly do not think you're the asshole. Jason knew what the fuck he was doing. Jason is 24 years old. He is a grown ass man. He knew exactly what he was doing, and that's why he chose to lie whenever you guys brought up where are the invitations? We haven't received our invitation yet. That's why he chose to lie, because he wants to be the family that he has in his head with his biological parents so bad. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, he thinks it's okay to love these people, treat these people like they're his parents, while simultaneously pushing away the people that have raised him for the past 20 years, as well as expecting them to fund his wedding. And then be okay with not being invited because my parents don't want you there. Fucking Jason is wrong. He's wrong. You guys are absolutely not the asshole. And I'm so sorry that you were being hurt this way. I don't think you're wrong at all, because ain't no way in hell I'm paying for a motherfucking wedding that I'm not invited to. No, absolutely not. Any negative racial comments made in this video will be removed and the user will be blocked. So be warned. Am I the asshole for firing my time-blind niece from babysitting over the phone? I have 3 kids and they're not old enough to be left alone at home. They're 10, 8, and 7. We had a babysitter, but she's in college now and she can't do it. I have a niece that's 16 and she has high-functioning autism. My wife and I agreed to let her babysit when my sister asked. It was an easy way to have a babysitter and she gets some pocket money to spend. She babysat last week and she was late. We were able to get to our event, but it was annoying. The whole night went well and the kids had a good time. I informed her she can't be late since we have places to be. Today, my wife and I had to get to a work function and we needed to be on time. She was supposed to babysit, but when she was 20 minutes late, I called her and told her not to come. I pulled a favor from my neighbor and we left. I would have done the same thing. I understand that she has high functioning autism and time blindness, but when it comes to a job, you have to be on time. She's 16. She's about to go out into the work world. She has to understand that time blindness is not going to be an excuse that your employers are going to accept. Not continuously. I got a call from my sister, pissed that I fired my niece and it's not her fault that she has time blindness. That my niece has been very upset about being fired. And personally, I think it's a good life experience. Better to figure it out now before she gets a job where you have to clock in. My sister called me a jerk and my wife is thinking I may be too harsh, even if she agrees that her being late is an issue. No, I don't think you're the asshole, because just like you guys have to be at your work functions at a specific time, she has to be at work at a certain time, whether it's babysitting for family or not. If I tell you that I need you to be here by 6:30, you don't show up by 6:55, now everybody's screwed. No, I don't think you're the asshole at all for firing her. And like over the phone, what were you supposed to do? Go directly to her? Like you had to call her and let her know not to show up. What else were you supposed to do? My other question is, what is your sister doing to help other than making excuses? Is she actually telling her daughter that, maybe we need to start setting alarms ahead of time? That way we can remember. We need to find a way to make sure this works for us. Or is she just making excuses for her and expecting everyone to accept the fact that she's autistic and has time blindness? Like, it's a thing, I completely understand, but it is not up to everyone else in the world to shape their life around it because you have time blindness. You have to find a way to make it work for you. And at 16, this is the perfect time for her to start learning.